An entitled mother and kid ignore dog will bite signs, trespass onto my property, and try to pet the aggressive dog. Then they call the police on me when the dog bites them. Here's how I handled the situation. Like the video and subscribe to You're the Jerk on YouTube for more stories. I tried to keep it short, but honestly, I can't. 22-year-old male N, is 18. We grew up together since she was born. For years now, she has begged her parents for a dog and volunteered at the shelter to learn proper caring. Last month, for her birthday, she got the okay to pick any dog she wanted. She chose a 5-year-old greyhound from the shelter that was known for aggressive behavior towards everyone but her, due to an abusive past. He had bonded with her and she called him Snoop because she is a huge Snoop Dogg fan and saw the chance for a pun. To make sure Snoop couldn't hurt anyone, they put a higher fence around their yard and they had to put a lock on both gates, to the front and the one into my backyard, after we found out he can open doors when he attacked me while gardening. Also, they planted bushes along the fence and placed several signs saying, "Warning, aggressive dog, will bite and attack. Do not touch, let out, or go in." Idiot-proof, right? Well, not so much. Last Saturday, we had a neighborhood girls-only barbecue at my place. 11 girls aged 7 to 22 because we are a bunch of sisters, honestly. N and I made sure none of the younger girls could even accidentally open the gate as Snoop was outside in their yard, and even with N there, he was still aggressive. Though she was professionally training him and it was all starting to get better, they still had a long way to go. To allow emergency exits from their yard into ours, the gate is locked with a mere long hook that wasn't reachable for kids. As we were just doing our thing, we had been on it for hours. Snoop started barking vividly, again. So we didn't quite care since one of us probably had gotten too close to the vents while playing. Dead wrong. One of the girls came up to us telling there was someone with Snoop, and that's when we heard the screaming. And smashed through the gate, I behind her but on my side of the fence securing the gate. There stood entitled mother kicking aggressive Snoop away over and over again and still kicking him when he backed off, whining while EK was on the ground behind her, one hand completely bloody, screaming in pain. Note, we had absolutely no idea who they were or how or why they had gotten in. N, stop, what are you doing? She pushed entitled mother back to put herself in front of her dog. Entitled mother, this dog bit my daughter, it's an aggressive beast. N, why are you even in our backyard? Entitled mother, EK wanted to pet your hellhound. Now look at her. At this point, I snapped back into reality. Each party had someone injured here. The girl was crying and Snoop didn't even bark at the strangers anymore. So I entered the yard, and Snoop doesn't budge at all. Definitely something wrong. Me, stop fighting. N, care for Snoop. Ma'am, does your daughter need an ambulance? That at least broke them apart, but the girl did indeed need an ambulance. Her hand and wrist looked pretty torn up, so I made the call because it had to be. The ambulance arrived with a police car in tow. Damn, that moment I knew we were doomed. N had by now called the home call vet. Snoop wasn't doing well either. I'd never seen the dog this quiet and feared for the worst. The policemen, P1 and P2, approached me first. P1, are you the caller? Can you tell us what exactly happened? Me, yeah, this woman and her daughter somehow got into here to pet the dog, but the dog has aggression issues which he is in training for and the situation escalated. The girl got bitten and the woman injured the dog. P2, who's the dog's owner? Me, that would be N. N was crying. Snoop in her arms, begging for him not to leave her, so the policeman kept talking to me. P2, do you know her well? Me, I do. We lived door to door since we were born. We were all in my yard having a barbecue when this happened. I have no idea who these two are or how they got in here. I unlocked the front gate to let you in. They must have climbed the fence. Entitled mother burst into the conversation. Of course we climbed the fence. The door was locked and my daughter wanted to pet the dog. I was baffled at how stupidly she had just admitted to that, and then we all got distracted for a moment when the vet showed up. Me, ma'am, there are literally warning signs all around the house. Why would you climb the fence? You injured Snoop and your daughter got hurt too. Entitled mother, every dog owner has those signs up. They don't mean anything. We have never been attacked like that before. Yes, she was indeed that dumb saying this wasn't her first time trespassing. I wanted to lose my shit on her. P1, me, you said this dog has a reputation? Were there former attacks? Me, sure, I was dooming Snoop, but I had to tell the truth because, well, he has aggression issues. Everyone here knows that. The thing is that he's okay with N around though, and they are training hard to better his behavior. P1, but there were other attacks? Me, only one on me right after they took him in last month. No, honestly, I knew about more, but I had already said too much. They merely nodded it off, going to talk to N. I stopped entitled mother who was about to stomp after them. Me, you have done enough damage here. Maybe try being a mom and see your kid. Entitled mother, how dare you? She was actually raising her hand, threatening to slap me. Me, loudly, do it. I want a reason to beat you. I really don't care anymore. Hell, were we both out of line there? A minute later, entitled mother and EK were off in the ambulance, and the vet was taking Snoop to the animal clinic. The policeman said we would be notified about everything else and left as well, and took her bike to the clinic following Snoop. I had to tell her parents everything when they came home. It was horrible. And our party was over too. It was our 5th annual girls barbecue and probably our last, shadowed by this event and the aftermath of it. The following Friday when I came home from work, I was called to the neighbors, where I found N crying over Snoop's blanket. He had died that morning due to the injuries he suffered from that horrible woman. Her daughter will have scars for the rest of her life, but doctors don't expect any further complications, so she got really lucky. On Saturday, in the mail, came the order to put Snoop down. They considered him too dangerous due to several attacks have happened. We felt like the world had shattered. Judgment had been passed over an abused and abandoned dog whose second chance in life had been ruined by an entitled mother who thought warning signs were meaningless jokes and the terms of private property didn't apply to her. Since it has only been a week, I can't say who will be held responsible for what. There were no further trials yet, but if entitled mother doesn't get one for trespassing and killing Snoop, sorry, forgot this is Germany where pets are considered things, so actually, this isn't killing, but damaging property. I'm gonna lose faith in law. Thanks for sticking with me, guys. Guys, it happened. They managed to prove this wasn't the first time entitled mother and EK trespassed to pet a dog. Along with that, they proved she damaged fences and gates to get to the animals. She's got a couple of other people charging her for that now. Also, the father, who's divorced entitled mother and was trying to get full custody for EK for some time, has now won exactly that. Entitled mother lost custody for EK. Kind of sad for the girl, but maybe better too. If there were signs up to warn people the dog is aggressive and the gates were locked, so they had to literally climb the fence and trespass to get to the dog, then the EM and kids should be responsible. They trespassed, and there were literal warning signs saying not to get close to the dog. There's literally no reason they aren't at fault. Their defense was also so stupid. They're basically saying, when we broke into previous properties, their dogs never actually attacked us. What kind of statement is that? I swear, this EM is stupid and it's her fault her child was bitten. Any judge with a head on their shoulders would see that's all the EM's fault. I'm not a lawyer though, and I do feel bad that the EK got hurt in the first place. Who do you guys think would win if they took it to court? Let me know in the comments. Got entitled mother kicked out of Halloween Ends for bringing her underage kids into the movie. This was my first time coming into contact with an entitled parent, and given the circumstances, I wish I had been there for the final confrontation before she got kicked out. But I had more important things to worry about, like watching the rest of the movie, lol. I went to the movies last night to watch Halloween Ends on opening night. I had just gotten off work and was still in my suit, but I said fuck it, because I was too lazy to go home and change into more casual clothes and then drive to the movies. I sat down in my seat with my snacks, and during the previews, I see a toddler come into the theater that didn't look old enough for kindergarten yet, accompanied by a kid who looked to be in middle school, and then their mother comes into the theater right behind them. And I saw the mother was holding her third child, an actual baby who couldn't have been any older than 1 year at best. They sit down in the row of seats directly below me. The way the theater is built has each row of seats comprised of luxury recliners with walls facing them separating them from the next row down. I couldn't actually see this mother and her kids unless I got out of my seat and stood up to look down on the row at them, or unless they were just entering the theater to sit down. At that point, my brain is just screaming, are you fucking serious right now? Like, are you really fucking serious with this? You're going to bring a baby and a toddler into a horror movie? Not just any horror movie, mind you, but the horror movie of one of the most terrifying slasher icons, Michael Myers. To say I was already very annoyed at this mother's decision-making was an understatement, because she's not only going to cause her baby and toddler to get seriously scared by bringing them, but I guess that she also wouldn't be doing jack shit to calm them down if one of them started crying or being too loud during the movie. Lo and behold, I was right. Multiple times throughout the first half of the movie, the baby started briefly crying or letting out a single loud pitched cry. It was loud enough that you could obviously hear it interrupt the sounds and dialogue of the movie. I was already mad at the woman for her garbage-ass decision-making and entitled behavior by bringing in children that shouldn't have been there and were all but guaranteed to interrupt the movie for everyone else. But her not doing anything to quiet them down was the final straw. And just to clarify for everyone who may ask, the mother did not get up even once to take care of her baby outside the theater to calm it down. This baby was consistently loud and disruptive the whole time the family was in there watching the movie. I got out of my seat and walked out of the theater to a couple of employees outside of that particular theater and explained the situation. They said they would contact their manager to come into the theater and get the woman and her kids to leave. I go back into the theater, and before long, 15 to 20 minutes have passed with no sight of the manager or employees in the theater. During that time period, the baby is still loudly whining and crying here and there, once again stopping me from really enjoying the movie. At that point, the movie hadn't reached its bloody, gory climax, but I wasn't going to wait around until then or afterwards for this to get addressed and risk the chance of that baby and or toddler to get scared out of their minds and ruin it for me and everyone else. I got up again and went to talk to the employees again, and that's when they finally got their manager to go into the theater and talk to the woman to get her and her kids to leave. I stood off to the side by the giant wall when you enter the theater watching the movie as the manager and an employee talked with the mother, so I never got to see what actually happened or what was said. That mother and her two younglings had already interrupted the movie enough for me, and I wasn't going to miss another second by focusing on them about to get kicked out. A little over 5 minutes later, the employee came back by me and said they were about to leave the theater. I saw the mother carrying her baby followed by her middle school age child, and toddler carrying her sippy cup leave the movie theater. I and everyone else finally got to watch the rest of the movie in peace, which was about another 40-45 minutes, and just so happened to be the best part of the movie. After the movie was over, I found the manager that kicked the mother and kids out and thanked her for fixing the problem. She told me it was no big deal and that actually legally, the mother should never have been allowed to see that movie in the first place. According to the theater's policy, children under 6 years old cannot enter R-rated movies after 6 p.m., so the mother shouldn't have been allowed to buy tickets in the first place, considering she had a toddler and a baby with her. However, the employee that sold her the tickets was being trained and didn't know about the policy, so he mistakenly sold her the tickets. The manager told me because of that, the mother was entitled to a refund of her movie tickets, which I understood. It didn't matter in the end though, as the toddler and baby didn't see the goriest and scariest parts of the movie, nor did the best parts of the movie get ruined for me and everyone else in the movie. Lastly, to the mother I got kicked out of the movie theater, if you're seeing this, I just want you to know one thing. I'm not sorry you got kicked out. You knowingly brought a baby and a toddler with you into an R-rated horror movie knowing it wasn't appropriate for them to be there. When they started disturbing everyone by being noisy and or crying, you did nothing to calm them down or stop them. You chose not to have any respect for your fellow moviegoers, but I chose to put up with your bullshit until I couldn't any longer, which just so happened to be before the climax of the movie was shown. Next time you want to watch an R-rated movie, just bring yourself and your middle schooler and be respectful of the noise you make in the theater when it's playing, and you might just get to finish it. And if getting kicked out wasn't a good enough lesson to make you remember for the future, I hope you had a pleasant evening staying up later than usual trying to calm down your baby and toddler because of any nightmares they might have gotten from the movie. That's awful. I'm sorry that happened to you. It's a shame that the mom didn't think of anyone else in the theater and only thought about her own child. So many people go to the movies just to enjoy it and forget their problems for a couple of hours. But when you're bringing your child with you, you need to be considerate of everyone else who is there. She should have been more careful about bringing her kids along on such an outing. I hope Original Poster can get through this with no trauma from it at all. Don't want to discipline your child? Fine. Both of you can stay home while we go have fun. Small edit for clarification. I'm not actually related to anyone mentioned in the story below. There's a family with a large cabin on a lake who host cookouts and trips on the weekends for their friends. While we're there, all of the kids call all of the adults present uncle or auntie no matter the blood relation. That's just how they roll. This one's a sad story all around, but it primarily revolves around two kids with very sad stories. Worth noting, the people I was celebrating this Labor Day with have a very it takes a village approach to child minding. An adult is left in charge of a little one, and if the little one and the adult part ways, the adult makes sure a different adult has charge of the child. Leads to some interesting situations where a kid is MIA, but we've never actually lost track of one and have a 100% safety rate. Well, aside from trip and falls and scrapes, but that's just the price of doing business when you're little. The first kid is Max. He's 5 and was put in sole custody of his dad after his mom was arrested. He wears a diaper still due to the trauma he suffered, and his dad feels like he failed him and as a result seems to be incapable of disciplining the child. It's been 2.5 years now and people watch Max like a hawk because he can't be trusted near animals or with other people's things. When caught, he turns on the waterworks and his dad doesn't do anything. The second kid is Alicia, and she's 4 and was adopted by a pair of my friends. She's got a speech impediment that her bio parents tried to solve by beating it out of her. When we first met her, everyone was given firm instructions. No using the R word in her presence at all, for any reason. Second rule, if she feels comfortable enough to speak to you, you listen. Period. Third rule, no surprise hugs, no fist bumps, no high fives. If she's having a good day, low fives are allowed. If she gets triggered, she shuts down. Doesn't cry, doesn't do anything. Doesn't respond to outside stimuli. She just goes away and it is the saddest thing to see. Sweetest little kid though. Her smile lights up the whole room when it comes out. Onto the events. Alicia has just hit her Y phase a few years late for obvious reasons, and she'd ask me why she gets shocked by doorknobs while running around in stocking feet. I happen to rather enjoy these questions, and I was in the middle of a talk with her about why that is. She was speaking when Max and his dad had arrived. I was down on my haunches and listening very closely when Max runs up and just shoves Alicia to the ground and says, "Shut up, wet odd. Unky OP, my iPad is broken, can you fix it?" Brandishing a tablet at me. I won't lie to you and say it wasn't a struggle to keep my voice even, but I knew yelling would only make things worse for Alicia. "Excuse me, I'm not fixing a thing until you apologize to Alicia and wait your turn." "But Unky OP, my tablet." "Apologize and then wait your turn." "No!" "Then stop calling me uncle and find someone else to fix it. Bullies don't get my help and they certainly don't get to call me uncle." Poor Alicia was just laying there where she fell, not even crying. Hadn't sat up, just looked like a robot that had run out of batteries. I scooped her up and told Max, You stay right here while I find Alicia's mom. This conversation isn't over. He just starts screaming, no bully, no bully, no bully, no bully. I snuck inside the house with Alicia where it was quieter for a moment and said, Alicia, I know you're very scared right now, but I need to tell you a secret. Can you nod if you can hear me right now? This is very important. I got the tiniest little nod and I told her, Max has the exact same problem talking that you do, and I understand you much better. You can't tell anyone I told you that though, okay? Bless her little heart, she actually whispered, really? Of course, would I lie to you? Tiny shake of the head. I tracked down her mom outside and gave her the Cliff Notes version of what went down. Mom looked like she wanted to rend Max limb from limb, but I told her the plan. She was appeased. They went someplace quiet so Alicia could come out of her shell, and I went back to where I'd left Max. Max was being held by his dad, and his dad was asking Max what happened to his tablet, and he was just repeating, no bully! Apparently, after I left Max, he'd smashed his tablet on the ground, and his dad had no idea what happened. I raised my voice a little so people would pay attention and asked Max to repeat what he'd said to Alicia. He shook his head and started crying, still shouting, no bully! And sobbing hysterically. When I relayed the exact events that happened, his dad had the grace to look ashamed. Come on, OP, you know what he went through. Can't we cut him a break? He doesn't know any better. This is the canned response anytime Max is caught doing something like kicking a dog or stealing a toy or phone to play with. I was done. Further discussion ensued that I won't bother relaying, but Max's dad refused to do anything to actually discipline his child, just like every other time Max acts out. But this time, we were done. This is so far across the line from acceptable, it boggles the imagination. We were planning on doing campfire s'mores after dinner, but I called an audible. New plan is putt-putt golf and then ice cream, and whoever does the best at putt-putt gets the biggest, bestest ice cream the place has. Every single adult agreed, and Max's dad shouldn't come with. They got to stay home and think about what they'd done. Miraculously, her recorded scores for putt-putt were 18 hole-in-ones, and listening to her laugh while she tried to contend with an ice cream that was very nearly as big as she was made everyone's night. Max and his dad were gone by the time we got back. I hope his dad gets his act together. I'm glad you got through it and are doing well. I can't believe how lucky you were that Max's dad had all the things he did in his car. I wonder what he was thinking when you guys pulled up and he realized who you were. It sounds like this really taught Max a lesson too. That is great. What a happy ending to such a crazy story. Your family has some pretty good luck too. Enjoy your vacation, original poster. Thanks for sharing your story with us. If you enjoyed these stories, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell. Check out the other videos on your screen right now. Otherwise, you're definitely the jerk.